Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. We're in the heart of the fantasy football season, just about halfway through. Still a lot of time to get right if you need to, and still a lot of time to watch out who's behind you as we get ready for another week of fantasy, George. The bye weeks are here now. A lot of teams out there having to start players they're not comfortable with. Of course, injuries striking as well. And who would have thought we'd get a crazy game last night, which we'll break down as well. 64 points scored. George, one of those nights that'll linger forever if you played against Jamar Chase. But if you have a Jamar Chase like me, you're feeling pretty good going into the weekend. But good to see you again, George.
See, I don't have Chase anywhere, Craig. All right, nowhere, because I didn't have a number one pick in any league here. So I don't know if I'm playing against him in any league. Offhand, I don't think I am, so I think I lucked out anyway here. That was a magnificent game last night, by the way. I mean, think about it. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco doing what they do, Max Scherzer in the baseball game. I mean, what year are we in? That these guys all had great games last night. But yeah, that's a fantastic game. And by the way, NFL-wise, Pittsburgh losing sort of opens the door here for the Bengals to stay in it. Maybe they can stay until Joe Burrow comes back. Maybe the Baltimore Ravens aren't dead yet. They're off this week, of course, no Lamar Jackson and company, but their schedule is very easy, and they'll see what happens next week. It also means, by the way, that maybe Trey Hendrickson, who everyone thought was on the trade block, may not be, as the Bengals are not dead.
We'll get to Thursday night football coming up soon, but as I'm told, we have other big stories to give to you here on the show before we get there. So let's keep it going in the proper order. We'll start off. The trade deadline for the National Football League is approaching, and by next week, I'm going to guess we'll have some trades. So we'll get into that. We'll see if Breece Hall is one of those players for the New York Jets. He's the hot name thus far, fantasy-wise. Terry McLaurin ruled out on Friday. He is not going to play against the Dallas Cowboys, so George can rejoice until the game begins, and then he'll be upset when they lose. But for now, he feels good that one player is out. Although CeeDee Lamb is back for Dallas, and I'm sure George has him probably in a league or two, would be a guess. Chuba Hubbard is making Chuba Hubbard fans happy that he's back, but everybody that has Rico Dowdle is shaking a little bit, wondering how much time Dowdle is going to get, because Hubbard was the starter. At the very worst, I would think that Dowdle would be involved in some sort of timeshare, George, but that's another big part of the story. And then also, for those of you getting ready to watch the Sunday morning game in London, you're going to be doing so without Puka Nacua, who was also ruled out for the Rams. Truth be told, George, Rams don't really have a great secondary wide receiver option. But this week in particular, a lot of folks are waiting until Monday night because we have no idea what's going on with Tampa Bay's players. Like, everybody's injured, hurt, questionable, etc. Okay, so let's start off with wide receiver this week. In addition to all the players who are off on bye weeks, as I mentioned, we have Puka Nacua out, the Tampa Bay situation, and then we found out Terry McLaurin is going to be out. He's a big factor for what Washington does. I think we saw that on Monday night against the Bears. Their offense didn't look as good without him.
And it could be worse, by the way. Deebo Samuel also is looking iffy to play Sunday as well. Deebo has the heel injury, and he hasn't practiced. All right, so he said today that he's not sure if he's playing Sunday. So that's sort of a game-time decision as well. You mentioned, Nacua is out. Garrett Wilson's may not play for the Jets. And there's a lot of injuries we have to worry about here. All right, so you're definitely going to want to churn your roster, make sure you have replacements, assuming you want them, need them, have room on your roster for it here. The Washington game, it's 54.5 is the total there. As bad as the Cowboys defense is, if Debo's out, how are they scoring points, Greg? I understand Dallas can't stop anybody, but you have to have people to throw the ball to here. All right, so it could be very interesting there. You made the CeeDee Lamb's back for the Cowboys. He says he's fine. I may have some doubts there that he's 100% here, but that being said, you said it. I have CeeDee Lamb in a couple of leagues. He's starting. And I think I'm thinking about this. CeeDee Lamb's playing for the Cowboys. He's playing for my fantasy team here. But I don't. We may not get the total points that we think of in that Commanders Cowboy game.
Agreed. The other big story, in addition to Lamb coming back, which we can talk about throughout the show, is very clearly, the Dallas Cowboys, who will get him back potentially this week. What the issue for me is watching Dallas play, not really being sure if Rico Dowdle is that good or if he just had the best two matchups in the NFL against Miami and Dallas. George, I like Chuba Hubbard, but I have to wonder how this is going to be split because there's two schools of thought here. Number one, Hubbard has been their guy now for a couple of years. And they owe that to him. Like they're not going to make Chuba Hubbard go away. Could they trade him maybe? Yeah, of course, that's possible. But on the flip side, how can you just tell Rico Dowdle after getting 450 yards the last 2 weeks, you're just going to be in a 50-50 share? I mean, Panthers, if they win this week, are going to be over 500. I know that sounds crazy, but this team could be fighting for a playoff spot.
The NFL is wacky. I mean, I think I said on the show last week, hey, before the season, yeah, I think Buffalo's the best team. After week 1, it's Green Bay. Oh, then it's Detroit. Now maybe it's Kansas City again. And it's throughout the NFL. Every week we change our opinion of who's the best team, who's going to make the playoffs, who's not going to make the playoffs. Carolina is probably a problem now, and because they're not going to forget about Hubbard. Everything you said about Dowdle's true, right? He had 2 magnificent games, but they were against 2 of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, right? So they're not going to forget about Hubbard. They're not. He's going to play somewhat. The Jets, by the way, as bad as their defense has been, have been okay against the run. So this could be terrible for fantasy owners because it might limit what Hubbard and Dowdle can do because neither one of them is going to get the full share. They might ease Hubbard in, maybe gets 12, 14 touches, which means Dowdle gets about the same, right? So bottom line for me is this. If I'm the coach, Dowdle starts this week. Back-to-back 200-yard games. You're starting. You've earned that. I got to play the players. Wow, that are playing well. I need to win now. But that being said, I'm looking at Hubbard's contract here. He's making almost $9 million a year. It's one of the highest-paid running backs. They're not going to forget about him either.
Yeah, hard to train a guy like that too. This day and age of not wanting to pay running backs. I mean, think of Najee Harris. Got less money on a 1-year deal to go to the Chargers. He's going to miss the entire season. Okay, speaking of the Chargers, they're down to running back 3. His name is Kamani Vidal. He rushed for 124 yards against the Miami Dolphins, a team that is, I believe, last in the NFL against the rush. So he was one of the stars, George, of last week. But there's very few players that I'm staring at saying trade immediately. This would be that guy for me, George. If I thought that I could get back something of value. I mean, there's a reason he was on the practice squad for several weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he was 3rd string, by the way. Let's not forget that. And we all thought that Hoskins was going to be the guy last week. All right, so you can use a 4th string. That being said, running back, pulse, value. Okay, he has it. You're right. I mean, you can trade him for a guy who's more definitive. Absolutely, I would do that. That being said, you need to be strong at running back, and I am not strong at running back. So I would probably be that guy who wants to buy Vidal, assuming the price is something I can live with here. So I'm trying to get any running back on a couple of teams here. It's
Gotcha.
just a bad time for me. I mean, I still think Vidal is the guy you want over Haskins this week, but would it shock me if next week we're like, oh, they changed it up and it was Haskins was the guy because he got a couple of goal line carries and they were touchdowns? It wouldn't shock me about that either. I think they're once again playing the hot hand here. I don't think Vidal is all of a sudden the great guy. You already said it, Greg. Miami can't stop the run. All right, so that could be another reason why Vidal had a great game here. Vidal, to me, is more of a flex play this week or a low-end running back, too.
Hampton will be back eventually, and the Chargers could make a trade. Let's not get it twisted. Chargers are going to be fighting for the playoffs. 49ers will fight toward the playoffs. It looks like they'll get back George Kittle this week. So what does that do for Kendrick Bourne, as the receivers right now on San Francisco are all banged up? Bourne back-to-back huge weeks. It just smells a lot like Juwan Jennings of last year, George, honestly, when they were missing receivers and Ayuk was out and Debo was, on the way out. This is what they did, and they played. It just seems like the 3rd string receiver for San Francisco, whoever that is going to have his chance to shine. But long term, can I say that Bourne is going to do this every week? No, I can't.
No, because they're going to get healthy, all right? We all heard that Jennings has 17 broken ribs and his shoulder is not even there anymore. And what I'm trying to say is I want to start Jennings, all right? Pearsall may or may not play this week. So Bourne's is a play this week. Detroit's also banged up in the secondary. Let's not forget that. So, I'm sorry, Atlanta. So there's that as well. So I'm playing Bourne this week, right? I think I'll play him for another week here. But after that, I think that might be the end of his top-notch playing days.
64 points scored on Thursday Night Football, a rarity. And we saw 2 quarterbacks battling like it's 2006. We'll tell you what happened next. At some point this year, next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. Specifically, the state of Pennsylvania is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But yeah. Tua goes out there, my kids love me, I'm rich, I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, dude, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get plus 102? We can in overtime. Snuggaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
One of the wildest games we've seen in a long time on Thursday Night Football. In fact, the underdog in the NFL in primetime games has now not just covered, but won in 6 of the last 7 games. So that's the way the NFL is going right now. The Chiefs were the only team to cover the spread at night in the last 7 games. That's wild. Bengals did it last night, 33-31, George. They end up winning and covering. And, of course, this was the game where the old guys were featured. So, Sam, let's start off with the winners before we do the losers first, okay? Let's flip that. Let's start off with Joe Flacco. I was completely wrong about Joe Flacco for at least last week. I still think Cincinnati's going to go on the road, George, somewhere and lose 51-0, and he's going to get sacked 10 times. So I'm going to say that, but I'm also going to admit defeat. I never in a million years would have bet anything on Joe Flacco throwing for 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He was great. And he did something that other Bengals quarterbacks, not named Joe Burrow, don't do, which is say, let me get the ball to Jamar Chase early and often, as many times as I can. He's the best player at his position in the NFL. And he did it. And he got 23 targets, which was the most, if I'm not mistaken, since Brandon Marshall, who had 28. That's the all-time record. 161 yards on 16 catches. One of my fantasy teams is so bad that I got all those points from Chase, and I'm still not favored to win this week. That's how bad I am. But either way, I'll take those 38 points.
Getting 38 from Chase, and you're not favored to win. Wow. That's not good. All right. Now, listen, none of us saw Flacco doing this. And anybody who said, I want to see that. All right. I want to see that in writing on video somewhere. Now, that being said, they play the Jets next week, then Chicago, then Pittsburgh again, granted in Pittsburgh, New England, Baltimore, Buffalo. The schedule's not terrible as far as defense is concerned. So maybe he can keep Cincinnati afloat. Maybe he can. And you're right there. Where's Jamar? Throwing it at him. I'm just throwing it to Jamar. Where's Jamar? And Steelers couldn't figure it out. I mean, how many slants can you let Jamar run before you decide, hey, they're going to throw a quick slant to Jamar? You might want to cover that. So it was just strange, bad defense, not being aware. We know Flacco doesn't want to get hit. Right, he's going to get rid of the ball quick. It's what he's going to do here. So we'll cover the short pass, and you should be okay against him. Worked out well for Cincinnati. Listen, it was an entertaining game, a fun game. If you had Jamar Chase, hey, congratulations. If you started Flacco, I guess in a super flex league, it could certainly happen. If you started Flacco in a one quarterback league, you're a smarter guy than I am. Hell, you started Aaron Rodgers. That might have been unusual here. And it's funny, in my home league, which is super flex, Flacco was started, Rodgers was not.
Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns. He also was picked a couple times and tackled by his own guy at one point during the game in a celebration. He wasn't too happy about that, but we'll take those numbers any day from Aaron Rodgers, who now seems to be playable again. I believe they play the Packers coming up too, so that should be a nice revenge game thought. T. Higgins, let's get to him real quick. Higgins, certainly took a back seat to Jamar Chase. Here's what a back seat looks like with Joe Flacco: 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, on the flip side, you got a sorry game from DK Metcalf, which if you would have said the Steelers put up 31, you would have said, wow, Metcalf had a huge game. He did not. But Jaylen Warren, George, is another one of those guys that I really underestimated going into the season. To be honest with you, I was concerned that they drafted a running back in one of the early rounds in Caleb Johnson, and this guy's not even getting on the field, George. I don't know how that happened, but Warren has been great. Another 127, 4 catches, 31 yards. One other guy to talk about here, running back Chase Brown, his best game by far of the season. Not even close. 108 yards. What's weird is he's not catching the ball really out of the backfield. I still have major concerns with the Cincinnati running game. And by the way, George, is this a fair comment? I don't even know who played Chase Brown this week, right? Like, a lot of people are like, the heck with this. I'm going to play somebody else.
You're right about Chase Brown, right? I mean, you may have had to, depending on what else is on your roster. Once again, running back pulse, no choice. But we weren't expecting all that much. Pretty much everybody ate in this game except for who you mentioned, DK Metcalf, right? 8 points. And he had that one interception that was ripped out of his hands, right, that he should have caught there that was taken away. So not a great game for DK, especially with Aaron Rodgers going off there. But everyone else pretty much ate. All right, if you had any one of their tight ends, hey, God bless you. As far as Caleb Johnson, I don't know what happened with remember, he was being benched before the season started. All right, all of a sudden, they weren't going to play it for whatever reason. My first thought was that, well, you got Aaron Rodgers. Maybe there was no chemistry there with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you couldn't pick up the blitz and you can't get the 41-year-old guy hit, that sort of thing. But we're week 7, week 8 now. He's still not playing. A little strange.
Right.
That he's still not doing this. So I don't know what's going on there as far as that's concerned. The good news is, hey, T. Higgins, we thought he was dead, right? That his fantasy value was dead. Well, he may be back from the dead. He's not Jamar Chase. We know that. But at least somebody you could think about starting him. I already went through Cincinnati's schedule. It's friendly as far as the passing game's concerned here. So T. Higgins probably is startable. Once again, wide receiver 3, flex consideration. Most of us can use that.
I think the point that you made at the beginning of the show was probably the one that I just want to touch on real quick here. Who is good in the NFL? Like, I mean, I understand that you can lose a game, and the Steelers can lose a game like that. But, George, this season is like upside down, trying to figure out who the good teams are in the NFL. Like, I wanted to jump on the Lions. The Lions looked awful last week, right? Pittsburgh, okay, we can count on them being good. They put up a defensive dud against the Bengals. I would probably guess, if I had to, not knowing what the playoffs are going to look like, George. Yes, we know Kansas City's going to be there. We know Buffalo and some of these. I would guess that we're going to get a Super Bowl team, or at the very least an NFC or AFC or NFC championship game with some teams we do not expect to be there, like not even close. And I'm not talking about like reaching down and taking Tampa Bay. I'm saying like a team we're not even talking about right now. That's how crazy this season has been.
Oh, I agree. It's weird, especially if the teams that we thought were going to be good to great don't figure it out. Philadelphia can't figure out their problems. Buffalo can't figure out their problems. We can get a weird team or two. I don't mean to denigrate when I say this is a weird team. Seattle Seahawks, anybody? That looks like to be a really legit team. I may have my doubts about Sam Darnold in crunch time, but they're playing really well right now. Maybe they're that team that's going to surprise people.
We got to take a break here on Fantasy Sports Today. We come back next. We will hit the waiver wire. A lot of folks unloading their budget to pick up some players this week because, quite frankly, a lot of injuries and the bye weeks are here. So we'll do that for you next. You're watching Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid, and we'll be right back. At some point this year, next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. specifically the state of Pennsylvania, is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, like, dude, like, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. Like, if I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get plus 102? We can in overtime. Knockaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Waiver wire ran off this week, and George and I are going to run off some players maybe that you could consider picking up or maybe still can in the future. We'll start off with the Las Vegas Raiders. Their top target in Brock Bowers is out again this week, and for whatever reason, George, maybe it's because he wants a trade, I'm not really sure, but Jacoby Myers is not getting targets like he used to get, and he's not getting them from Geno Smith. I don't know if this is team mandated or what's going on. It's been this guy Trey Tucker who has 33 targets, 24 receptions, 356 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And look, he may just be better than Jacoby Myers. I mean, that definitely could be the case. Do I find it odd that all of a sudden he has been the guy? Yeah, I do find that a little interesting, but I think Tucker's a short-term solution, George, because I would guess Bowers will be back in a week or two.
Yeah, I think you want to go with Tucker this week. You're playing Kansas City. That should be Kansas City's hit. Listen, we already talked about how teams change from week to week, but Kansas City looks to be hitting on all cylinders now. They'll get Rashee Rice back this week. We think they're going to put up points against the Raiders here, so Geno should be dropping back the pass. I'm not saying he's going to hit his Raiders receivers, not the chief defenders. I think Geno's thrown, 10-plus interceptions already this season. But Tucker should get targets at the very least here. What's going on with Myers? I expect him to be on a different team in 2 weeks before we trade deadline. Over that. Pittsburgh, maybe New England would make some sense there too, but I think he'll be on a new team.
Titans announced that Calvin Ridley is out this week in their showdown with their ex-coach and Mike Vrabel. So Alec Io Manor will have another shot to do what he did a couple of weeks ago. Now, this past week, it was pretty ugly if you started him in fantasy. He's 30% owned, 196 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Essentially, George, other than the mix of tight ends and the running backs that Cam Ward throws to, Io Manor may be their best wide receiver going into the game this week against New England.
Agreed. I did pick him up in a league. That being said, he's probably going up against Christian Gonzalez. I don't think Gonzalez is going to follow him all over the place. So Io Manor doesn't really, require someone to do that. He's not that good. But that being said, I don't think he's going to have a huge game this week. I am sort of wrestling, Craig, to let people know, Io Manor or Sterling Shepard. I picked him up as well here. And one of those guys will be my flex wide receiver there. And I think I'm going to go with Shepard. I think I just trust Baker Mayfield a little bit more.
Yeah, I do want to do Tampa. I'm going to do Tampa here in a minute. I think we have to hit on that. Tyler Algier keeps scoring for Atlanta, and even though Bijan Robinson's getting 80% of the work, Algier is still finding an end zone every now and then. I never thought 2 of these backs could be viable, George, but it feels like Atlanta is like a Detroit light, so somewhat, right? Like with Montgomery and Gibbs, you could play Algier and still get 8-10 points.
The problem with Algier, and I agree with you, the problem with Algier is you to really have the solid fan state, you do need him to get to the end zone. All right. And he might do that this week. All right. No Bosa. He's out for the season. Fred Warner out for the season for San Fran. Running should be available there. It should be available easily for the Atlanta Falcons. Darnell Mooney, by the way, also likely to play for the Falcons this week if you're thinking about picking him up. So there's that for you as well. No problem with Algier. We have 2 teams on bye. Maybe you don't have James Cook. Maybe you don't have Derrick Henry. You also, for everybody out there, we should mention, next week is Bye-Mageddon, right? There is 6 teams on bye next week. So maybe you want to pick up someone like Algier. You don't even need him this week, but you need someone for next week. And he'll be cheaper this week than he will next week when everybody needs a running back.
Saints have Kendre Miller less than 30% owned. This would be a speculative ad that they trade Alvin Kamara, although Kamara's been a Saints lifer, George. I think he would probably have to ask for a trade in order to get dealt. He keeps signing back with them.
Yeah, Kamara said this week that he doesn't want to go. So, and I agree that I think he would have to say, hey, I want to go to a contender here. And apparently he doesn't want to. Maybe just being the nice guy. We'll see here. Because there would be teams interested in him. You and I already took Breece Hall a couple weeks ago. Maybe the Chargers, maybe the Chiefs. Kamara, same teams. They'd be interested in him. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think he is telling the truth here. Plus, he just signed a new contract last year. So that would also hurt the value of a trade here. Miller, though, still has some value.
Right. Okay, so let's go through Tampa Bay's situation. Tez Johnson's another name that was the hottest in my league, picked up this week in all of my leagues here for Tampa Bay. So we have Mike Evans uncertain, Emeka Egbuka uncertain, Chris Godwin is out, and also Bucky Irving is out, but we already know that they have Rachaad White as a backup. So this is hard, George, because you have to wait till Monday night to figure it out. You mentioned Shepard, Tez Johnson is another. What would you do about Tampa Bay's situation? Would you count on Egbuka? I don't think you can, right?
I think if I had to make a decision right now, I think Egbuka's out. I'd be surprised if he plays here. Sterling Shepard is the safer pick, 8-10 points there. Tez Johnson's more your high ceiling here. Guy who could catch a big touchdown like he did last week and get you 15, 18 points. Depends on what you're looking for here. I took Shepard.
Right. And by the way, if somehow out of nowhere Mike Evans plays, I don't know that I would play either of those 2 guys. That's just kind of the way the Buccaneers offense rolls. We'll be back with the fantasy games of the week next. At some point next year, states are going to ask for Kalshi to be taxed. And I think they're going to have to pay taxes if they continue to operate in this space. Specifically, the state of Pennsylvania is looking and saying, hey, our sports books are paying us tax money every month to do the same thing you guys are doing.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
This one's for you, Tommy Reynolds. I know you're a Rochester Americans guy, but the big team, the Buffalo Sabres, at home against the listless Rangers. Can we get plus 102? We can in overtime. Knockaroo does it again. Buffalo over the Rangers.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today. We may have already gotten our fantasy game of the week on Thursday night, but if not, let's take a look at some of the other ones on the schedule. And George will start off with London. Those games have been entertaining with the exception of last week, but we've gotten a lot of good games there. Hopefully this week is not one of them, meaning last week's game. It's the Jaguars back in London against the Rams. And the key story from this one, George, is that Puka Nacua is out, but it's a rare situation on a team with such a good wide receiver that everyone's seemingly struggling to say, who am I going to pick up, right? Like, who am I going to replace Puka with? Well, it may not be somebody on the Rams. Tutu Atwell, Whittington. You just play Devontae Adams. You go about your business with Kyler Williams and Stafford. And from a Jaguars perspective, it's still the same. Lawrence, all of a sudden, George, has been very playable, averaging 15, 20 points a game. Etienne has dialed it back a little from where he was at the beginning. Brian Thomas still very good. And neither tight end really all that inspiring, I think, going into the game.
Well, I do wonder this. We also found out today that David Njoku's out on Sunday. So if you're desperate for a tight end, without Nacua, maybe Tyler Higbee could have some useful. He might get double digits for you. Someone's got to get the targets that Nacua was getting. Remember, Nacua got a truckload of targets. All right, someone's got to pick those up. If you're debating between Whittington and Atwell, I think you're sort of making the same decision I just talked about with Tampa Bay, with Shepard and Tez Johnson. If you want the home run guy, that's Atwell. If you want a guy who can get you 10 points, that's Whittington. That's really what you're looking for there. I think, once again, I'm more of a safer play here unless I'm supposed to lose by 88 points. I would go to Whittington.
Saints take on the Chicago Bears, who came alive last week. Did we get an update on DJ Moore this week, George? That's one name that escaped me going into the show today. Was there any late week info? Give that to me before we do that.
He doesn't have an injury designation, so he had the hip groin, and I think he stayed overnight too in Washington. So it looked like it was going to be a severe thing, but no, he's fine. So he's going to play. Okay. You're normally going to start him. You're free to start him.
Okay, so DJ Moore, Caleb Williams now startable. Not really a tight end there. DeAndre Swift coming off his best game. Kamara on the other side. Saints just extremely inconsistent with their offense, George. And by the way, this is a game the Saints are not in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I would be concerned that they could get blown out in this game.
Yeah, we did find out that DeAndre Swift was put on the injury report today, so that's somewhat concerning. Groin injury listed as questionable. I do expect him to play. I guess Troy Aikman wouldn't start Caleb Williams, by the way, as those two seem to be not getting along. As for the Saints, I think I'll start Olave. Olave's been pretty consistent, 10, 12 points each week, not getting in the end zone. We'd like to see that. Shaheed would be somebody who, he's more of a game winner. Juwan Johnson was really hot for the first couple of weeks, been invisible since.
Chiefs take on the Raiders, and Chiefs are big favorites in this one, and a lot of moving parts at wide receiver with Rice and Worthy, and Mahomes is back to being a quarterback one, and same with Travis Kelce at tight end. But the running back situation for the Chiefs has been a disaster. They just really, it seems like Kareem Hunt's playing more than Isaiah Pacheco. On the Raiders side, George, the only player you could really play and trust in this game is Ashton Genty. You'd be running the risk of anybody else right now on that team.
Yeah, agreed. Rashee Rice does return this week. They say they're not going to ease him in. He is going to play, so whatever that's worth here, I'm assuming you're probably going to start Rice. Hollywood Brown did have the big game next week. It would be tough to trust him, all right? You may get single-digit points. Maybe you get double digits at best here. You're starting Kelce. Running backs I want nothing to do with unless I am completely desperate here. For the Raiders, once again, same thing. Njoku out. No Brock Bowers. You could do worse than Michael Mayer, all right? Because once again, we do think they're going to throw the ball a ton because they're going to be trailing this whole game here. So targets should be there for a double M.
Could be good Chiefs defense play this week, I think, against the Raiders too. Colts will visit the Chargers with the running back situation very secure on the side of the Colts. And then, Kimani Vidal is going to have to play for you if you have him this week. I get it. You just don't know what he's going to be. But with the Colts, George, the big story for them is wide receiver, because outside of Michael Pittman, all their receivers are seemingly banged up going into this week. For the Chargers, I think what you saw last week, I got to believe is a sign of things to come, George. It's been a really tough start for Ladd McConkey, but as you saw, there was an extra effort getting him the ball, and especially at the goal line last week. So I don't think anybody cut McConkey. I'm just saying I think it's time for him to now start getting back to where he was a year ago.
Isn't this last year all over again? McConkey also had a slow start to last season, then came on like gangbusters and was beating everybody. So I think it's the same thing there. Not really all that worried about McConkey. Josh Downs is out for Indianapolis. So as Craig just said, Indianapolis all banged up at wide receiver. It's Pittman or bust there. You want to go down to Alec Pierce, Good luck to you. All right, it's going to be a Tyler Warren show, Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. They're going to be just fine here. As for the Chargers, we already said about Vidal. Yeah, you're starting him. McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson is your sort of buster boom guy. We'll see how that works out for him. Nothing I want to do with the tight end there. Herbert, I think, is more of a quarterback 2 this week.
Commanders take on the Cowboys. It's the highest point total on the board in the NFL this week, 54.5. Dak Prescott has been fantasy's best quarterback this season in fantasy. Also goes along with CeeDee Lamb now being back for them, and certainly got to play their running back too. Williams has been fantastic as well. Outside of that, and the tight end, I should mention Ferguson. He's been one of the best tight ends in football too. Washington, though, George, this is where you got to get things figured out here a little bit, because Jaden Daniels, you obviously play. We saw Zach Ertz's numbers get a little bit of a tick up last week. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt not as good as he was weeks before without Daniels, which was a little weird. So, look, you got to play him too, okay? You're not going to find somebody better. He's an RB1 or RB2 to play this week. But I have a feeling somebody could pop up for Washington that's unexpected. Not that I know who it is.
Well, they're playing the Cowboys. If Washington wasn't playing the Cowboys, we're probably not starting anybody we just talked about other than Jaden Daniels. But you are playing the Cowboys. No Trayvon Diggs for the Cowboys. You got a concussion at home doing some whatever. He's had a weird season. You're starting Jaden Daniels. I'm probably starting JCM. I'm starting Krosky-Merritt because it's the Cowboys. They can't stop anybody. He should be the starting running back there. McLaurin's out. Samuel, I mentioned earlier, is iffy. We'll have to wait till it'll be a little game day decision there. Luke McCaffrey, maybe he's that guy you're talking about there, Greg. Maybe he's that guy. So McCaffrey could be in play there. Zach Ertz is going to start for me this week. He was doing well against normal defenses, more against the defense of the Cowboys who can't stop anybody. Everybody for Dallas goes, right? Ferguson, now that CeeDee Lamb's back, I don't think Ferguson's going to get 10, 12 targets anymore, but you're still starting everybody on the Cowboys. Cowboys have played 2 home games this year. They have scored 40 points in each, and it's not like Washington's stopping anybody.
No. Buccaneers and Lions, this has the makings of a very exciting game, and certainly Detroit plays much better at home than they do on the road. Tampa, this is one of those games where you better have some backup plans on the side of Tampa Bay if you're playing their receivers, because outside of Godwin, everybody is a yes or a no going into Monday. We just don't know. And on the side of Detroit, as always, George, it's the same. It's all hands on deck. I'm on Ross St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jared Goff. It's just a matter of how many points they get you. So Detroit, very clear cut. Tampa Bay, a mystery. And you better have some of these guys in a flex spot, because you may have to take them out and put somebody else in.
Yeah, I'm not going to be cute. Mayfield still starts for me. I think he makes anybody better, so it doesn't matter here. I expect points in this game. Rashad White, automatic start. Irving's he's doubtful, but he's not going to play. I mentioned earlier, Egbuka's. I don't think Egbuka's playing. If Mike Evans goes, yeah, he probably has to start for me, Craig. If you start with Tampa, he's probably starting for me. That's the way I'm going to treat that. I'd rather have Shepard over Johnson, just more of a conservative play there. But if you want more of the home run guy, that's Johnson, no doubt there. Another sneaky play, by the way, for those who don't have Bowers or don't have the Joker, whatever tight end, Kate Otten. Maybe he's going to be that guy that gets the targets for all those missed wide receivers there. As for Detroit, you're starting everybody. You already said it. Jameson Williams. We had a Jameson Williams sighting last week. Maybe you can go on him this week.
Yeah, one. It feels like 2 out of every 3 or 4 games, Jameson Williams has a big game, and then you want to start him the next week, and he does nothing. That's just definitely part of the equation with him. Okay, let's do this. We got to take another timeout here on Fantasy Sports Today. When we come back, we'll play a little buy or sell. We'll also update you on any injuries in the NFL. But if you want accurate, up-to-date information on sports betting, just download the SportsGrid app. Take out your phone, scan that code, iOS and Android. You'll be all set. You can also stream our programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the SportsGrid app. Make sure you download it today. We'll be back with more FST as we roll on ahead of a very big fantasy football weekend. Craig and George back right after this.
You're looking at Joe Burrow being the guy that I was in on the beginning of the year. Clearly, that is no longer an option. So where are we looking on this board? And I keep landing on the same thing, which is, Baker Mayfield's been kind of the story this year. Think about this. He's plus 950 for MVP. They look like right now one of the, if not the most formidable team in the NFC.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Great quarterback, the best quarterback in football. But when you play a 60-minute game of football on national TV and the referees do not call a single penalty against you when you committed 13 penalties the week before in a nationally televised loss, I'm sorry, but the jig is up.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, like, dude, like the Dolphins press conference is making it way worse. Like, if I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Before we wrap up our show today, a quick reminder, each and every Sunday morning, you can also catch Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker on Fantasy Sports Today, leading up until Pro Football Today with all your sports betting information and action. But as George and I continue on, let's get to our questions of the day. We've got 4 of them, including Patrick Mahomes, Ashton Genty, tight ends, and more in a little game of buy or sell. Well, he's dialing it back is Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs, averaging almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns a game. I mean, I don't even know how many times he did that last year. Once, twice, not much. Let's do buy or sell, George, with your favorite, Patrick Mahomes. He will finish the season as the top quarterback in fantasy football. Is this a buy or sell?
You don't want to go down that road, Craig. We'll take up this whole segment on that little question there. Now, what's making Mahomes even more valuable this year, he's running. They actually have designed run plays. He's become a running quarterback. Now, I don't know if I love that, by the way. If I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I don't want to get Mahomes hurt, but he's running more, right? He's adding 4 to 6 points, seems like a week to his fantasy total here. He's going to get Robert Shea Rice back, right? Travis Kelce's playing well. So it's a legit question. Yeah, it's definitely a legit question here. Now, with any question like this, is this guy going to finish number 1 or anybody else? I'll always take the field. So I'm always going to sell this because I'm just going to play the field here. But this is legit. I might point out, hey, Josh Allen's still going to be there. Dak Prescott, whatever you think. Everybody knows I'm not a big Dak Prescott guy, but he's going to have to throw the ball 40 times a game. That defense is not getting any better. So he's going to keep putting up numbers. CeeDee Lamb's back. Schedule's not tough. So I might put Dak in this conversation. Baker Mayfield. The only thing I'm worried about is the injuries here. I am selling this because I'll take that somebody else will. Plus, the weather in Kansas City is going to get tougher as the season goes on.
That's good too.
So I will sell this, but it is legit.
So in terms of the rankings thus far with the points, so Mahomes is 1, followed by Allen, Prescott, Mayfield, Hurts, Drake May, and Daniel Jones. And there's really no huge drop-off from Mahomes to Jones. Like, it's not that far. Mahomes has 148 fantasy points on the season. Jones has 120. 24 points is like 1 or 2 games in fantasy football. So, yeah, I'm going to sell this. I think that the trajectory that I see right now is Dak Prescott being the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. They can't stop anyone. And the Chiefs eventually are going to play some low-scoring games, I think. George made a great point with the weather, too. Dallas is playing at home, although they can't see the ball because of the sun coming in their face. But besides that, I think Dak Prescott may end up being the number one guy in fantasy this year. So I am going to sell. All right, running backs in fantasy football through the years, if you drafted rookies, you may have won yourself a big lottery ticket to winning fantasy football. This year, you won yourself a trip to finishing last in fantasy football, outside of maybe one, that is Ashton Genty on the Las Vegas Raiders. Buy or sell, Genty will finish the season as the top rookie fantasy running back. And I guess I would ask this question to you, George. Who the bleep is he competing with at this point? It is so ugly at running back in fantasy. R.J. Harvey has done nothing. Omarion Hampton is hurt. Caleb Johnson, does anybody even know where that guy is? He doesn't even play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, there's one. There's one that I'm missing. There's one that I'm missing.
I'll name that for you. I'll name the guy you didn't mention there. Well, Henderson's another guy, by the way. The New England Patriots don't trust him, right? They don't play him. But the guy that could compete with Genty, would be the name that you said you loved during preseason. You love this guy's name, Cam Scotabo, right? He'd be the guy. He's right there with them. The only problem for Cam would be, A, it is the Giants. Their schedule is brutal. And B, Tracy should return. So it's going to take away. Cam will be the starter, so I think he will be. But Tracy's going to eat up some touches there. So that's my only issues there. But I think he's the guy who competes with Genty for that number one overall role, which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's not Hampton, but he got hurt. Shocked that's not Henderson, but they don't like him. Shocked whatever, R.J. Harvey in Denver, whatever's going on here. Will he finish the season at his top? This is a little different when I say automatically take the field here because there's only one other guy. I'm going to buy this. Genty's the best guy, but would I be surprised if it's Scotabo? No, I would not.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this for the guy that I just forgot about in Cam Scotabo. I guess the only concern that I would have, and it's a slight one, is that in a couple of weeks, Tyrone Tracy comes back and is a bigger part of the offense than Devin Singletary, who, by the way, Devin Singletary, I highly doubt will even be on the team in a few weeks. So I'll sell it. I love Ashton Genty. And maybe part of it is the Raiders. Maybe part of it is, the system or whatever. He does not look like the guy in college. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. I mean, and spurts he has, but he hasn't broken enough for me to make that distinction. I'm going to sell. Tight ends in fantasy football have once again been a disaster. Last year was the really coming out party in tight ends. We thought we were building on something, George. All these new tight ends, McBride and Laporta and Bowers. Oh, you could draft any tight end. Oh my gosh, we went the other way again. Tight ends should be drafted outside the top 36 picks in fantasy. That's like the third round in fantasy. I guess if we were to reset and do a draft for next year right now, would there be a tight end in the first 36 picks?
Maybe Tyler Warren. He has become that good.
It's the only one. Maybe Ferguson.
Yeah. No. Ferguson's a nice little story there, but he got a lot of touches because CeeDee Lamb is out, and he's certainly not a touchdown guy, so no. And Kelsey's on the back end of his career. I mean, I understood back in the day, right, when you drafted Kelsey in round one, right, because it gave you such a big advantage because he was getting 24 points a week, and you're going to win your tight end matchup by 12, 14 points right there. But I never did that. I just don't like how my team is. If I draft the tight end early in those first three rounds, I don't like what my team looks like. I'm short at wide receiver. I'm short at running back. I never liked it, so I always waited at tight end. Mainly because if you don't get one of the top three, those are always the best guys. Everyone else is the same anyway. So I'd wait forever. I didn't care. That's how I approach it almost every time here. So yeah, I buy this that you should be drafting a tight end outside the top 36.
Well, that would be historical. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've never seen a tight end not taken in the top 36 rounds or picks. So I'm going to sell this. I'll go with the name that George just gave, Tyler Warren. May not be a first round pick, may not be a second round pick, but George, that guy is not slipping past pick 30 in fantasy football. Somebody would pick him. We'll be back to wrap things up next. Don't go away.
You're looking at Joe Burrow being the guy that I was in on the beginning of the year. Clearly, that is no longer an option. So where are we looking on this board? And I keep landing on the same thing, which is, Baker Mayfield's been kind of the story this year. Think about this. He's plus 950 for MVP. They look like right now one of the, if not the most formidable team in the NFC.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Great quarterback, the best quarterback in football. But when you play a 60-minute game of football on national TV and the referees do not call a single penalty against you when you committed 13 penalties the week before in a nationally televised loss, I'm sorry, but the jig is up.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
I apologize to our fans. We need to do better. That's all you need to say, Scott, right? But Tua goes out there, my kids love me. I'm rich. I don't care. You got your dumbass coach coming out here, and we play to win. You got to win the game, and you got to win. And, dude, the Dolphins press conferences make it way worse. If I was a Dolphin fan, I just want to punch these guys in the face.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Oh man, I love this question because it pertains to me in fantasy football, because I was on the road to 2-4 last week on Monday night. And then I got hit by Bijan Robinson. So one of my teams is actually doing good. I'm really, and with Chase, I'm feeling really good in my Dynasty League. I think I'm going to make the playoffs, bounce back. I'm even looking to add. But one team, I think I'm done. But let me get the distinction here from George, see if he agrees. Odds of making the fantasy playoffs according to Yahoo based on 2024 results. Keep in mind, some leagues that are smart, 6 teams get in. The 6th team is the most points in the league that didn't get in via the first 5 records. I agree with that 100%. If that was the case, I'd still have a shot in this league, which I do, I guess. But George, I am one of these 1-5s, 12% chance. But my 12% chance, George, includes starting R.J. Harvey and Michael Carter at running back this week. Now, I do have Chase. I understand that this is do or die. George, I was actually thinking, I have James Cook and he's off. Would you, if you were me, just to get this win this week and stay alive, would you trade James Cook for a lesser running back who's just playing, so you would secure that win? Somebody's going to get real lucky and have Cook the rest of the season, and I'm going to have somebody that's going to have a bye and not as good. I'm almost at that point.
In redraft leagues, that's the question you have to ask yourself, right? You're 1-5. You got Cook on by. If you're 1-6, I don't know what the numbers say for 1-6, but you're probably done unless, as Craig mentioned, you have a ton of points. If you have a ton of points where you might get that last spot, well, then I'm probably holding on to Cook. But if it's a redraft league and there's no top point scorer gets the 6th spot here, well, hey, I'm done if I lose here. What do I care if I have Cook or not? Yeah, I would probably look into trading Cook maybe for a couple of depth players, that could help you this week. You got to win this week. You have no choice. You worry about next week. That's generally how I approach things.
Even with Chase having 38 points? Think so?
You know the rest of your team and who you're playing, right?
I know I have Joe Burrow. I know I have Joe Burrow. I have Egbuka. I have Aaron Jones. I have Trey Benson. I mean, I could play any of those guys and get a 0 if you like. It's rough.
A lot of zeros there.
It's rough. Rough times, but we press on here on Fantasy Sports Today. In fact, let's end the show with the SportsGrid 60.
I don't want to sound like the get off my lawn type of guy here, but one thing I can't stand, this is for football, baseball, not really so much in hockey, is these teams that constantly change their uniforms. All right, we saw it last night with the Bengals. They went the all white, which admittedly I didn't mind all that much, but I hate, on a Sunday afternoon, right? You got 7, 8 games on the 1 o'clock window here. You turn the game on, I have to think, who are these teams? Or who's that team? Because I can't tell because they changed the uniform to a completely different color. That doesn't even match what they usually have here. I just don't like it. Once again, they do this all for marketing here, but they don't even really look good for the most part. All right, they sound like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's a cool uniform. No, they look terrible. There's a reason why your old-time uniforms that you had for 40, 50 years worked, because they look good. And now they change them to this, they change them to that because they want you to buy the jersey or buy the new logo, whatever it is. I just never been a big fan of it at all. It's why I like with the Yankees. They always stick with the pinstripes and the gray. Cowboys have changed a little bit. I don't like what they've done either here. And like I said, hockey, I get the orange uniforms of the Islanders. Not really a big fan of that. Or the stupid Gorton's Fishermen on acid that they had for a while. Just not a big fan of these uniform changes just to get you to spend more of our money on new uniforms.
So the show is fantasy sports today, but probably a lot of folks are going to wonder, starting next week, are Craig and George going to do what they do during the baseball season, which is turn our football attention over to baseball? It's a year-round show, and George and I cover baseball during baseball season, and then we do football during football season. Well, there's another season that's about to begin next week. The National Basketball Association is back. And while fantasy sports primarily is football and secondarily is baseball, and it's a distant second, the NBA falls to a distant third from there. So if you're looking for an answer, the answer is no, we will not be covering fantasy basketball. But that being said, last weekend, my son had a fantasy basketball draft, and he was on auto pick. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. Based on the projections for his team being on auto pick, look just like every other team. I think you can actually participate not knowing a thing about fantasy basketball in a season-long league and still compete. So if you're playing fantasy basketball or you're drafting this weekend, I wish you good luck. Thanks again to our producer, Sam. George, good luck to all your fantasy teams this weekend and your sports bets as well. We will see you back here next week for our next edition of Fantasy Sports Today. A lot of bye weeks next week coming. We'll help you get through it. Good luck, everyone. See you then.
Oh, the best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese and his literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports.